What's up guys, Casey here, and today I'm going to be helping walk you guys through setting up the Flutter dev environment on your computer. This video is going to be for people who are just getting started with not a ton of experience, maybe none at all. I'm going to be walking you step by step through this. Goal is at the end of the video, you guys will be able to start walking through tutorials on Flutter and starting to make your own app. So let's get right into the video. All right, so first things first, we are going to want to go to the flutter.dev website and click on Get Started. I'm going to be working on Mac, so I'm going to click Mac, and we'll click iOS for the sake of this tutorial. If you are wanting to dev on Android or Windows or whatever, you're obviously going to want to select that. So web, desktop, iOS, Android. Select whichever one you're wanting to work on. That will just, there's different setup steps for each one. So like on Android, you're going to need to download Android Studio and set up all that stuff. Web, I'm not too sure. I'm sure there's some different setup stuff and same with desktop. So iOS, we're going to have to download Xcode and set up all that stuff. So let's go here. If you are on a Mac with the M1, M2, all those different chips, that is Apple Silicon Mac. So you are going to have to run this sudo command. If you don't know or haven't used it yet, the terminal is kind of how we talk with the root of the computer. So when you click on an application to open it, really under the hood, it's running a command which you could run through the terminal, like open Safari, or you can navigate through different things in the terminal. Regardless, this is not a terminal tutorial. You're going to have to get comfortable and learn lots about the terminal over the course of your deving journey. So let's copy that and paste that guy in here. Sudo means you have to have administration permissions, and sudo is kind of like, hey, you have to do this thing. So it requires a password to your computer. Type that thing in, and then you will get something like this after that, hopefully. So as you can see here, so we're going to have to download Xcode 15, CocoaPods, and then Git as well, and Homebrew. Okay, sweet. So for Xcode, we are going to head over to the App Store. And you're going to come in here and you're going to download Xcode. So I have Xcode installed, so I'm just going to open. And it's going to prompt me to install some stuff here. I'm going to continue. And once that's all done, you will have Xcode installed. So I think we can exit out of that. We have Swift and Objective-C code with Xcode. Now let's head over to CocoaPods. All right, so if you guys don't, which I'm assuming if you're just setting things up, you won't. Homebrew is kind of a way to help manage packages on your computer. A lot of packages I use through Homebrew. So if you don't have Homebrew installed and you need it, so to install it, you're going to have to copy this curl here and paste that in your terminal, and it will prompt you through when it says press return or enter to continue. And so this is now going to install Homebrew on my computer. And then with Homebrew, I can install different packages that allow me to do different things with coding. So in this scenario, I'm downloading Git, which is used for version control, and then CocoaPods, which is a way to install dependencies on Xcode. So we need both of those things in order for Flutter to be fully usable on our computer. So Homebrew is going to help us out with that. Looks like I got run these two commands in your terminal to add Homebrew to your path. Okay, so I'm going to copy these guys and paste that there. Click enter. So now if I type in brew in my terminal, There we go. So we got brew installed. I think you could type in, yeah. So I type in brew and it tells me all the different options I have for brew. So that means we have brew working on the computer. So let's head back to that documentation we were just on and click on the CocoaPods. So we need to run brew install CocoaPods, or I'm just going to click this. And we're going to paste that in the terminal, click enter, and this is going to download CocoaPods for us. All right, cool. So we just got CocoaPods installed on our computer. Now let's head back to the documentation, and I'm also going to install Git. You do have Git by default on your Mac, but sometimes there are security risks and things like that. So I'm just going to run brew install Git. And if you don't know what Git is, that's fine. All right, sweet. So I guess it looks like I already have the latest Git version, so I don't need to run brew install Git. But if you don't, I would suggest running brew install Git to get the latest version of Git. Very confusing that it's called Git and not G-E-T, but G-I-T. But anyways, moving on. So now you guys get to pick which IDE you want to use. Preferably for me, IntelliJ and Android Studio are my favorite. I am an Android engineer at work, and so Android Studio is my dev environment that I'm working in all the time. If Visual Studio Code is your thing, go for it. There's different setups, I think, for Visual Studio Code. I also think it might be a little bit easier, but I don't work in that dev environment, so IntelliJ and Android Studio are my go-to. If you don't know, IntelliJ works with Android and kind of builds out the Android Studio IDE, so they are very similar. The Android Studio one is just going to have some things on top of the IntelliJ one specific to Android. So if you're deving in iOS, it still doesn't matter. You can still use Android Studio one, but maybe IntelliJ is the better path for you. IntelliJ gets updates for the IDE before Android Studio will, because IntelliJ makes their own IDE, and then later on Android will receive those. So if you want to stay the latest, up to date, IntelliJ is the way to go. I'm going to go with, for IntelliJ, there's a package called Toolbox, and this kind of helps manage IntelliJ packages. So I'm going to install the Toolbox app, and as that's downloading, you can see here how it will allow you to install it through this Toolbox, the IntelliJ IDE, Android Studio, and it kind of manages those things. Also kind of helps you know which projects you have through the Projects tab, and you can easily get to those things. So I am going to open up that download once it is installed and continue from there. All right, so once we get that downloaded, I'm going to open that up, and then I'm going to go to Toolbox here and open that guy up. Welcome to the Toolbox. Yes. Yes. All right, cool. So I tried making this video already, and so that's why I have Android Studio installed here, but that's why I'm switching over to Xcode this time around. If you want to install the IntelliJ tool, you would come down here to IntelliJ Community Edition, unless you are paying for IntelliJ, which like a license. Anyways, that's JetBrains Toolbox, and I think it's a great tool. So if you guys are using IntelliJ or Android Studio, I highly recommend. Anytime there's an update for the app, also you can update it through here. It's a lot easier than going to Android's website, downloading that, and updating, or same thing with IntelliJ. So highly recommend the Toolbox if you guys are rocking those two applications. For me, I'm going to install IntelliJ just for this. Awesome, so we just got it installed, and now clicking on that will open up IntelliJ for us. We have to agree to the terms of service, of course, and it opens right up to IntelliJ. Sweet, so we got that. Let's go through the next step. Install Flutter SDK. If you're using VS Code, this is what I'm saying, I think it's a little bit easier with VS Code, but I don't use it. So I'm gonna go to download and install. I'm rocking the Apple Silicon. If you're on Intel, download that guy. I'm download this one. This guide presumes you downloaded the Flutter SDK to the default download folder directly or directory downloads. The reason it's assuming this is because it's giving us terminal commands, and the terminal commands are assuming we're in the downloads folder. So let's confirm that. Let's go to Finder. This has the Flutter SDK and it has the JetBrains tools that we just downloaded. So both of those things, they're in our downloads folder. So that means that we also need to create a development folder. So let's open up that terminal. ls tells us what folders are in our current directory, and we are going to say make directory development. mkdir is for make directory development. All right, awesome. And then now we can copy this terminal command here. So downloads Flutter SDK, move it to development. So we're going to have to do it a little bit differently. Also, it looks like the zip for the download already got opened, which is unfortunate. Well, if yours didn't get opened, you can run this command downloads and then the Flutter SDK, move it to development. Because it's already open, I'm going to open up the development folder here. We got our downloads here, and I'm just going to drag over the Flutter into the development folder. So this contains all the SDK stuff needed for Flutter. That might be a little bit easier too if you don't understand all the terminal stuff. So make sure to open up the folder that you want it to be stored in, which mine is development. Go to your downloads folder, click and drag that into your development folder. So now if I go into my development folder and I look, I have the Flutter SDK there, okay? And if you're doing the zipping, you want to unzip that file. Awesome. So now let's set up our iOS development. To configure Xcode command line tools, use the installed version, run this command. Okay, let's try that. I'm going to go back to my directory, paste that in. Awesome. To install iOS simulator, run the following command. We need that so we can see what we're building. And then let's get the app or Xcode license agreement. Press space for more. So I'm just continuously pressing the space button here. Very long. Type agree. Okay, awesome. So we agreed to the license as well. So to start the simulator, run the following command. Let's run that. Open-a simulator. Awesome. So we got our iOS simulator rocking now. We have already installed CocoaPods. We already installed Homebrew earlier in this video. So we don't need to run that, but we need to install Ruby. So we're going to brew install Ruby, let that guy download. That was very quick. And we also already installed CocoaPods. So we can skip those two steps, which is nice. Now here we go, Flutter Doctor. Flutter Doctor helps us know kind of like the state of Flutter. So like if there's an issue with Android SDK, if there's an issue with Xcode, permissions, something's just out of whack that's needed. Flutter Doctor helps us diagnose Flutter itself. So there might be an issue in our code, that's different. Flutter Doctor helps us know, is there an issue with Flutter? And it tells us what that issue is. Sometimes it gives us steps to fix it. Sometimes we need to do research and figure that out. But Flutter Doctor right now would let us know if Flutter's set up and ready to go for iOS. We ran into an issue because it said Flutter command not found. It appears as if in the steps there is actually not the step to set Flutter into our local path. I'm going to open up a new tab and we are going to look up. All right, so I found this Stack Overflow here. This person's similar thing, so Flutter whatever is not going to find the Flutter package, and so therefore you're going to get this command not found Flutter. So what we need to do is open up our ZSHRC file, and we're going to have to export this path to our Flutter bin, and that will allow us to run Flutter Doctor, such and such. Okay, so we're going to type in our terminal, open this curly /dot ZSHRC, and open up that. So it doesn't exist yet. So what we are going to do is do the same thing here, but with a touch at the beginning. So ZSHRC, okay. Click enter. That will create a ZSHRC file, and now we're going to go to open. I'm on my keypad. I'm clicking the up arrow. That will allow you to go to the last command that you typed in your terminal. So we typed in, we have nothing. Go up. We're back to open ZSHRC file. So click that. It opens up here. So inside of here, we're going to need to export path. And that path is going to be our current path. And now what we're going to do is open up our Finder again and go to, well, I guess we don't have that here. Let's open up a new one with Command T and LS to see where we're at, CD into develop, or let's just open this up. Okay, so we got our folder here, development, and we got Flutter. So let's go back over here to our export path, and we're going to go to get info, and then right click, copy path as name, and paste that there. And then we're going to do /flutter/bin, and save that, and then go to our terminal and type in, I'm opening a new one, we're going to type in source curly /dot ZSHRC. And then we're going to type in the Flutter Doctor command, and now we got that set up correctly. So make sure, if that's not working, make sure that you have saved this file. If that's not saved, it won't update. And then typing in the source ZSHRC file, that allows the terminal that you're currently in to know to update its source. So if you haven't ran the source and you're trying to type in the Flutter Doctor command, it's also not going to work. So make sure you have those two steps done, and copying that path in here, and that should work for you guys. So we're going back over here to the terminal, and let me see the size here. Looked a little small. Okay, so here, as you can see, the Android Studio stuff is not set up, which I was saying. This kind of like lets you know if something, like there's an issue with the Flutter stuff. So Android toolchain is not set up correctly. That's why there's an X. I think my Dart stuff set up correctly, maybe not. We will find out if Dart's not set up correctly here in a second. Let me get back to iOS down here. Configure iOS development. We did the Xcode license stuff. We opened a simulator. We installed the Cocoa pods. We ran Flutter Doctor. As you choose iOS development, you do not need all components. If you follow this guide, the resulting command should resemble these. Yeah, so Chrome and Android would not be set up correctly. Troubleshoot Doctor issues, Flutter Doctor -v. That kind of just gives us a little bit more insight into what the actual issue is. I think this is just saying that my Dart path is not in the correct place, I think is what's going on here. So let's create a test app just for the sake of this. And we're using, let's use a terminal editor and run this command here. This is not be the best way to do it, but just for the sake of knowing things are up and running, we're going to do this. Copy this one, go into the test drive. I think we already have a target device because our simulator is open, but we will see. Yeah, the iPhone 14 Pro Max. and then run the Flutter run, which should run here. So again, normally you're not going to be doing it this way, but for the sake of this video, make sure we have Flutter set up correctly. And then if this runs, I got a couple more things that we're going to want to do. Awesome. Sweet. Awesome. So it did run correctly, as this thing is showing. Let's set up another thing. So I'm going to go over here to my toolbox, and I'm going to open up the IntelliJ command, and I'm going to do command comma. Command comma, same thing. You come over here to settings. And there's going to be plugins, and in here there is a Flutter plugin that you're going to want to install, and also a Dart plugin that you are also going to want to install. Those two things will help just in your dev environment within IntelliJ or Android Studio make things cleaner and just help you code in general. All right, guys, so earlier on in the video, there was this warning here with Dart resolving in the Doctor, or in the Flutter, when we ran Flutter Doctor, and I realized that while I was editing, I kind of skipped over it, and so I wanted to readdress it now. The issue there is that the Dart package is not getting resolved, and they want us to add it inside of the Flutter project. I think the issue is I installed Dart through Homebrew on my other account, and so I think it's traveling over here. So I think what we have to do, I'm open up a new terminal, is just uninstall Dart through Homebrew and use the Flutter SDK's version of Dart for us. I believe that's all we have to do. Okay, sweet, yeah, so that will fix that issue. I apologize for that. You guys probably weren't seeing it, but if you do see it, that is why. Awesome, well there we go. I hope this video was informative and helped you guys get Flutter set up on your device. I know it can be frustrating getting started developing and not even know where to start, or having issues while you're getting started. So hopefully this video helped you guys out. If it didn't help out, or if you're still running into issues, please leave a comment below. I will personally be looking through those to help you guys out, because it's not fun not being able to code. I want to help you guys get started and learning how to Flutter. So if you liked the video, please drop a like and sub to the channel. I'm going to be releasing a lot more videos around Flutter, and I can't wait to see you guys in the next video. Peace.